Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Dr. Cornelia Gibson. I am based in Fairfield, California, in the United States. And my story today, what I'd like to share with you, begins with as a teen mother. So at 18, I gave birth to my baby girl. From there, I got married, was a battered wife, divorced, and from that point, I'll fast forward to many years later when I found out in 2011, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. That brain tumor, as a result of the brain tumor, I actually lost two of my two part-time jobs. Back up, 2005, I quit a job working for a telecommunications industry for 23 years. I absolutely quit because my focus was on mental health, counseling, and mentoring. So I earned my master's degree in counseling psychology in 2005. That's when I quit my job and I started working part-time, had two part-time jobs in the counseling field, where I was making half the money I was making when I was working in the telecommunications industry. However, counseling and mentoring others was my passion. From there, I started working on my doctorate degree in counseling, psychology, and education. I finished that in 2010, and then 1 year later, I found out that I had a brain tumor. At that point, I had just signed the lease on what was supposed to be my part-time mental health private practice. I had two other part-time jobs at that time. One was paying the bills, and one was doing exactly what I love to do, and that was mentoring teenage mothers. So when I signed the lease, I found out really 1 week after signing that lease for that part-time job that I did have the brain tumor. As a result of the brain tumor and some other complications associated with it, what I thought was a part-time job had to be my full-time job. And at that point, I was raising two sons by myself. So that part-time job, it slowly, within 2 years, my private practice grew to being full. And then I just thought, okay, there's something more for me to do. There's nothing wrong. In fact, I absolutely loved helping one person at a time. But I'll just say the Holy Spirit told me, no, you need to open up a counseling center. So I prayed about it, opened up this counseling center, and I hired other people to come on board. And still with this brain tumor, I continued to work. I continued to put my all into things. I continued to raise my two boys. And so my hard work and dedication in the counseling field with this counseling center actually earned an award for the counseling center and for myself, primarily for myself. I was awarded in 2021 a presidential medal of for the healthcare field from the NAACP. I also had a very successful brain surgery in 2021 as well. And so I just try to tell other women that no matter what the obstacles look like, you can keep pushing along. Sometimes you need help and support. Don't be afraid to ask for it. As far as myself, my main support was from my church family and from just God and praying. And so we're still working at this counseling center. It's thriving, and I'm continuing to do what I absolutely love to do. There were other obstacles along the way, but the main thing is I went for my passion. I quit my job in 2005, not knowing how things would end up. And what I didn't say was I actually filed for divorce in 2025. And when my ex-husband was leaving the house, one of the things he said to me was, if you think we're having financial problems now, how do you think you're going to afford this house? And I said to him, I don't know, I'm just going to have faith. And to this day, I'm still in the house. My sons are grown, they're doing well. My daughter is old and she's doing well and thriving on her own. And I could not be more proud of where I came from in terms of being that teen mom. I wouldn't change a thing about my life, not even my health situation. So for everything that has made me what I am today, I am extremely grateful. Thank you.
Say, your story is absolutely incredible. You know, a lot of women find themselves in these positions. Young girls get pregnant early and it feels like it's the end of the world. And what you've done is a real illustration of, perseverance, dedication. The way your life starts doesn't dictate how it's going to end up, right?
Absolutely. And in fact, one of the things that kept me going for a really long time, especially when I found out that I was pregnant at 17, had my daughter at 18, was all the naysayers. I continued to hear, you'll never amount to anything except for being a welfare statistic. And that really did fuel me into proving people wrong or wanting to prove people wrong. And somewhere along the way, I really don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, I stopped trying to prove people wrong. And I just came into myself and just wanted to persevere on my own. And that's what's brought me where I am today.
It's beautiful. So your journey from being a teen mom, becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist, and ultimately your degree in counseling is just remarkable. But what motivated you to pursue a career in mental health? And how did your personal experiences shape your professional path?
What motivated me was when I was pregnant, I really didn't have the guidance or mentorship. That's not to take away from anyone in my family, but I just didn't feel like I had the guidance and the mentorship. So I knew from early on that I wanted to help other young girls, young women, wanted to do this mentoring. And like I said, I stayed at this one company for 23 years. And at the end of that 23 years, I just thought, this is not where I belong. But really what the catalyst was for me to really get into the mental health field and get paid for it was one year I was receiving an award from a nonprofit agency where I was mentoring, and one of their psychologists said, Cornelia, you're always here. You're here receiving this award. Why don't you go back to school and get your degree and get paid for this work? And that was actually in 2023. No, it actually wasn't. It was earlier. So he just told me, why don't you go back to school and do this? And I told him, I don't have any money to go back to school. That's nearly impossible. And he says, well, check with your employer. And I did. And they paid for my bachelor's degree right away. I got back into school because I had started and stopped a few times, but due to a rocky marriage, I started and stopped and didn't go back. So this one psychologist encouraged me to check with my employer. And again, they paid for my bachelor's degree in psychology. And from there, I went directly into a master's program without taking any time off. Of course, I had to pay for that. And then the moment I finished my master's degree in 2005, I told my employer that I was quitting. And when I say quitting, I'm not saying I recommend this for anybody else, but I truly walked off. I gave them a 2-week notice. Wow. And I left. And a month or so later, I started working at a nonprofit agency, making less than half of what I was making. And at that time, going through a divorce as well.
Yes. So balancing the demands of pursuing higher education while raising a family and navigating these personal challenges like divorce and your health issues must be incredibly challenging. How did you maintain your determination and resilience during these times?
Like I said, at first, it really was just trying to prove people wrong. And I don't know exactly when it was that I felt like I could stop proving them wrong and just knew that it was something that I had to do. I will say that just looking at all three of my children, thinking I wanted to show them that no matter what it is that they were going through or would go through, that they could do whatever it is they wanted to do, whether that was education, during going down the education path or not. But I really wanted to be a role model per se to my children. And I will say, I think I have accomplished that. And I think all three of them would say the same thing.
Being diagnosed with a brain tumor shortly after earning your license and just you were about to embark on your career in mental health was a significant hurdle. How did you cope with this diagnosis? And how did it impact your outlook on life and your career aspirations?
So it's very interesting question. The thing is when I was diagnosed in 2011, I had, within 1 week, I had some symptoms, and there were 3 things that happened on 3 different days during that week. And one, I was traveling to one of my part-time jobs, which took about maybe 30-40-minute commute. On my way there, my vision noticeably changed. I prayed my way back home, and that was the last day that I went to that job. So that happened in 1 week, the vision change. Then I had another symptom that I got up late one night and I couldn't even make it to my bathroom. Everything was just spinning. So I laid on my floor, didn't let my sons know at all that anything was wrong. And then I had, on another day within the same week, I had what I call a weird headache. But I had been complaining about headaches for many years. So I reported all of that to my doctor on that following Monday. And she says, you know what, Cornelia, you've been complaining about headaches for a while. Maybe we need to do an MRI. And so did the MRI. When I went to the office, back to her office to discuss the results, she says, oh, I just wanted to she asked me if I had anyone with me. No, I don't have anybody with me. I just came to my appointment and she said, I just want to let you know you have a meningioma. And truthfully, at that time, I had no idea what a meningioma was. And I said, oh. And so then she says, so basically, she told me, if you have any questions, just give me a call. And I went home, I looked it up, and that's how I found out I had a brain tumor. I called one of my sisters and from there we called my mother, and my mother took it harder than I did. But what I will say is, and I'm kind of smiling about this, is that my idea of handling the brain tumor was, I'm never going to sleep because I'm never going to die in my sleep. I'm not going to die in my sleep, so I'm never going to sleep. And I kid you not, that was my first thought. And that lasted about 24 hours.
Oh,
Then I
man.
had to get some sleep. And from there, I shared it with my children maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. And I really didn't share until, I say I was a coward. I shared it in church. I had my pastor share it in church and in front of my two boys. And I felt like that would be the best place for them because they would be surrounded by people who could support them. And
Yeah.
from there, I told God, you know what, God, this is something that I can handle. And I am really good, or at least at that point, I got better at giving things to God and not taking it back. And so from
Mhm.
that point on, I kid you not, I cried every once in a while, but it was really thinking about, well, what's going to happen with my kids if something happened to me? It was never about what's going to happen to me. And
Mm.
so I I
Children
gave
were.
that situation to God, and it was no longer my issue. So
So, despite facing all of these setbacks, you went on to open a mental health counseling center in 2015. What inspired you to take this leap? And what challenges did you encounter in establishing and running your own practice?
so what inspired me was one day I was giving a speech on cultural diversity for the American Association of Christian Counselors.
Mhm.
And that was a stretch for me. And I say it was out of my comfort zone, way out of my comfort zone, but I did it. While I was at that conference, I was in my hotel room. This may seem strange to some people, but something came to me and said, you're going to open a counseling center. And I truly looked around like, me? And something just said, and it's going to be called Agape Counselling Center. And so Agape Counseling Center was truly birthed out of, I'll say, the Holy Spirit coming to me saying that you're going to open it up. And like I said, my private practice was full because, so I thought that was what I was supposed to do, was private practice. It was thriving, it was booming. And so I opened it, and that's hired people, and we just help so many people every year. And it's such a diverse counseling center. And just, I say everyone that I hire has a passion to help others, because I listen for that in the interviews, is that people have a passion for what we do. And
Yeah,
so,
that is just beautiful.
yes.
So, receiving the NAAP Presidential Medal of Freedom
Mm-hmm.
and Healthcare Award for your work in mental health is a tremendous honor. Can you share with us some of the initiatives or programs that you've implemented in your community to address mental health needs, especially amongst the underserved populations?
Yes, actually, when I was told that had won that award, I didn't even know I had been nominated. And that was in November. I believe I found out in November of 2021. And so some of the work that I had done, I say, not just I, but the counseling team, we had done. Personally, I have gone into the community and I've provided a lot of different workshops to other nonprofit agencies. I've provided workshops for different universities. And then our nonprofit counseling center, we didn't turn down anyone. So whether they had insurance or not, we provided free services. Um, and again, it's just my passion. Someone once asked me, what would you do if money was no object? And without hesitation, I said it would be providing counseling and mentorship to others. And so I would say the population we serve is about 90, at least 90% underserved members of the community. And we
Wow,
absolutely love what we do.
that's amazing. Now, being recognized by the Tamron Hall Show and featured in your local newspaper within the same week as undergoing brain surgery must have been an emotional whirlwind. How did you navigate this period of intense recognition and personal health challenges?
Again, anything that comes to me and came to me that was negative, I gave it to God. So I'm really, really good at not holding on to negativity or stress. I'm really good at that, which is what I try to teach some of my clients on how to do that. In terms of in that same week, my local newspaper did a full feature story on me, and the Tamron Hall show producer did call me and was interested in the story. And so again, I have a saying that's life will bring us stressors, but it doesn't have to bring us stress. And I
Mm,
really do. I live my life that way. So I'm not immune to stressors, health challenges, a divorce. I'm not immune to that. But I don't anything that I can't handle on my own, I give it to God, and that's what works for
that's,
me.
that's so beautiful. Now, your book, Surviving Broken Promises, offers a glimpse into your personal journey and the resilience that you've shown in overcoming adversity. What message do you hope readers will take away from your story?
So the book is a fiction novel, but it does parallel my life. And I started writing it just as a journal for some of the things that I was going through. Somewhere along the way, I just started being more creative and changed a lot of things around and really put that out there, really as a just to let other women see that they're not alone in different situations. And so, again, it started out as a real journal. And then I just thought, and that helped me get through a lot of things. And so at some point, like I said, I changed some things around, added some things just to make it humorous, make it funny while still making points that other women could, hopefully relate to.
Sure. So, as a mental health professional, what advice would you give individuals who may have been facing their own challenges or obstacles in life, whether it's related to mental health, education, or personal relationships?
Well, being that I truly have a passion for mental health, thus all three of my degrees are in counseling and counseling psychology. I'm a firm believer that counseling, if someone is having struggles, especially in with mental health challenges, and a lot of times people don't like to hear the word mental health. So I'd say if someone's having challenges with being sad or stressed, seek professional help.
Mhm,
So I'm a firm believer in seeking help. And then, as well as anyone else going through something, using your support system.
mhm,
If a professional is not what someone wants to do, at least just seek help from their support system.
mhm,
And if they're spiritual in any way, use whatever they deem appropriate for them spiritually, any type of higher power, I would say tap into that.
Mm.
Don't have to navigate this life by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Now, your dedication to serving others in the mental health field is inevitable. It's so evident. How do you prioritize self-care and maintain your own well-being while supporting the needs of your clients and the community?
Yes, self care is extremely important. And I talk about self care with my clients on nearly a daily basis. And so,
Hmm.
in that respects, I do practice what I preach. It's so important. I tell clients, if you're not healthy, you can't be at your best for anyone else. And so, for my own self care, I do have a favorite activity. It seems probably kind of corny, but my favorite self care activity is taking a bubble bath. And so there's many types of self-care activities, getting out in nature, writing, journaling. My second favorite is writing, just for personal reasons and things like that. Not going into a book is what I'm saying. So I just love to write. But there's many types of self-care activities, and I would encourage everyone to do something for themselves.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I get clients say, well, self-care, if I do something for myself, I'll feel selfish. And I've come up with this definition trying to distinguish self-care from being selfish. And what I tell them is when someone is selfish, they're number one, and there are no number twos or threes or any other numbers in their life if someone is selfish. But I say self-care means that you're prioritizing yourself, and then you have a number two and a number three, whether that's children, spouse, whatever that may be. But you're just prioritizing yourself, because again, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be the best to anyone else around you.
That's so true. So, looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for the future, both personally and professionally? And as you continue your work in mental health advocacy and community outreach?
So I am actually working on a project that will hopefully reach many more people, and it has to do with mental health as well. And it's a project that's called, the working title of it right now is Families Finding Fault or Forgiveness. And so what that is um, interviewing families who have self-identified with dysfunction in some area, and working with them on counseling sessions, trying to help identify where this fault is coming from, and then seeing if I can work with them to change that fault into forgiveness.
Okay.
And I've put out surveys, and I received a huge response from families across the United States who are interested in the project. But that's the next thing that I would like to work on. And again, for me, it's just all about helping others. Life will bring us stress, but it doesn't have to bring us. Life will bring us stressors, but it doesn't
Yes.
have to bring us stress.
Yes. I'm
Yeah,
not going to forget that. That's a very, very, very good quote. And I'm going to quote you on it in the future too.
wonderful.
So now let me take you into the past. Let's have a little thought experiment with the last two questions. If time was an illusion and I could take you back to that 17-year-old girl, finds out she's pregnant, all these negative things are being said to her. If you could go back and give her three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would you say to her?
I would say to her, don't listen to the naysayers. Um, you are worthy and valuable. and to have fun.
I love that. The having fun is a very big part of it, right?
Absolutely.
Now, my last question is another thought experiment, but this time into the future. If I could teleport you into the future to go and meet the 99-year-old you, and you're sitting in your rocking chair on your porch, surrounded by your children, your grandchildren, your dogs, and your cats. If you could go and have a conversation with this wise woman who's led you to that point, what would you say to her when you finally meet her?
I would say thank you for being so strong and having the attitude about life that you do and the passion for others that you do. And I see that you still have that today. And I thank you for just being you for and all that you bring to the family and to the community and hopefully to the world.
I love your response. And I like asking that as my last question because a lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in us. She's that quiet voice that says, say yes, say no, go left, go right, do it, don't do it. But we don't trust ourselves enough to know that we have all the answers to all of our problems. So I hope that my community remembers this. It is already in you. You don't have to look outside of yourself for answers or solutions. And what I've been doing is if I'm working on something and I'm struggling with it, I tap into the essence of who I am becoming. I have conversations with her. And sometimes I do my meditation and prayers, and I go to sleep with a question in my head like, what is the next step? What am I supposed to do next? And I will wake up some mornings with these knowings, just boom, the light bulb moment. The solution is right in front of me. Or I'll be talking to somebody else who tells me one thing that leads to the next thing. And it's like a chain of events that gets me there. So thank you so much, Dr. Gibson, for coming online and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I just really hope that my story will inspire someone else to know that you are enough the way you are and to keep on striving and pushing forward.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is bringing you some phenomenal women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift, inspire, energize, and empower you. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing woman. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again, Dr. Gibson.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep